I love my intro music. I'm not going to lie. Big fan of that track. That was actually one of the free, royalty free tracks that you can pick up off of YouTube, and I modified it to add some, John Sterling highlights because to me, he's the voice of the New York Yankees. How's it going, everybody? We're doing a little bit of a live episode now as we're approaching spring training, just a couple of days away. And I am just so excited. I get giddy this time of year. I usually spend the next probably 4 to 6 weeks just reading baseball stats, looking at who's going to have a good year, making my little notes about who to keep an eye on as far as prospects go. Before the season starts, I like to have everything kind of organized, and I just can't wait for this season. So we're going to talk to the fans here. So yeah, we got a couple of signings. Hey, Lori C. How's it going? Alexander Lee, how's your night? How you doing?
Hello there.
All right, so the Yankees signed Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce is an interesting signing for me because he actually had a worse OPS than Brett Gardner last year, worse OPS plus. He hit 190 something like that, but he's got a big left-handed bat. He's got a nice launch angle. He's got a 17-degree launch angle. We'll look at his stats and his StatCast notables in a few minutes. He does barrel up the ball more than most guys. But again, he's a guy who hasn't had a really impressive season in quite a while. The Yankees are kind of taking a flyer on him that they could maybe, if somebody gets hurt, drop him in there and he can do some damage at Yankee Stadium. They don't have a ton of other lefties, and he's an experienced veteran. Obviously, you'd love to have Brett Gardner if you're going to go with Jay Bruce. I think they're pretty much the same player at this point, except Gardner's a little bit faster. Both of them are declining as they get older. I think Gardner's OPS was actually 108, I believe, and his OPS plus, rather. Yeah, his OPS plus was 108, and Jay Bruce was 88. So Gardner's a better player offensively at this point. Oh, we got our first down vote of the night. And then we'll talk a little bit about Justin Wilson. The Yankees signed him away from the Mets. Justin Wilson actually came up with the Yankees a few years ago. They traded him for Luis Sessa and Chad Green, two guys who are obviously still with the Yankees. And Borg says that Jay Bruce can also play first base. Yes, he's a right field pickup, but I think he can also play a little bit of first base. Nick Stark says, I'm excited to see what those guys can add. I'm more excited about Justin Wilson for two reasons. One, Justin Wilson gives the Yankees a third lefty out of the bullpen, a guy who can face more than just lefties. He's a high spin rate guy. And also, he got a major league contract. So the Yankees are going to have him on the roster. Jay Bruce got a minor league deal. So there's no guarantee that he's actually going to make the roster. Wouldn't surprise me if he opts out or gets cut or something along the lines. I don't even know if he has an opt out. But a lot of times when these veterans get signed to minor league contracts, they have an opt out, mid-May or something like that. If they're not called up, they can go elsewhere. Ultimate Warrior says nice pickups. I agree, not bad pickups. Let's see. Okay, so let's take a look at a little bit of Jay Bruce's numbers, and then we'll go through to Justin Wilson real quick. All right, so last year you can see 198 average, did have 14 ribbies, 6 home runs. Again, you can't really read too much into last season because it was such a short season. He only played in 32 games. So basically a month, a little over a month. And he hit 6 home runs, which is not bad. A couple years ago, he hit 26 home runs. I always hide partial rows because I like to make the sample size that I'm looking at as big as possible. But let's show partial rows, and you can see that a couple years ago, he split the year between Seattle and Philadelphia, was traded midseason, had really good numbers with Seattle, hit 283 with 14 home runs, 28 RBIs, 816 OPS, and that is not a hitter's ballpark. It's a big ballpark out there. So let's take a look here. Obviously his best years are behind him. He had 34 home runs in 2012 with Cincinnati, 30 home runs the next year. 33 home runs and 36 home runs in 2016, 2017. You might remember 2017, he was on that Indians team that the Yankees beat. And I think you can make an argument that the biggest out of the entire series was when I think it was Tanaka struck out. Maybe it was Canley struck out Jay Bruce on a changeup with runners on base. That was a huge, huge out, and it kind of helped define that series. Let's take a look at his StatCast numbers now. They don't have a ton of data here, but you see that he has power to all fields. If you look, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. It looks like you can. He's got power to all fields. You see, he hit some real bombs, but he can hit it to left field. That's gone in Yankee Stadium. I don't know about this one. But he's got some power to right. That's the second decker probably at Yankee Stadium. Not very fast, so much slower than Brett Gardner. But he's a bigger guy. Got more leverage, 6'3", 230, so a big-bodied guy. If you can just get him into a groove of, hitting right-handed pitchers, then I think he could do some damage. How many people we got on the stream? 132. Looking good so far. All right, so let's go over to Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson pitched last year with the Mets, 19 2/3 innings, 9 walks, a bit too many, 23 strikeouts, 3.04 fielding independent pitching, and that is the stat that measures the pitcher's effectiveness at preventing home runs, walks, hit by pitch, and just causing strikeouts. So it's everything that the pitcher is responsible for, and it takes fielding out of the equation. So 3.04, not bad. That tells you that if it's a little higher than that, he was kind of unlucky. He's just 1 year removed from a 2.54 ERA, 39 innings, 44 strikeouts, so more strikeouts than innings pitched. I like that as a lefty out of the bullpen. I was thinking that, he would be good against guys like Benintendi, but then I realized that the Red Sox just traded Benintendi to the Royals. So, the Yankees have some tough lefties. They've got Chapman. They've got Zach Britton, who's more of a sinker baller. He can pitch to everybody. Chapman can obviously pitch to everybody because he's got that good fastball. And Justin Wilson, because he's a high spin rate guy, he's kind of like a left-handed Chad Green. So really nice pickup by the Yankees. I think that adds to the overall depth. A lot of people are always wanting the Yankees to get the next big superstar, right? They want the Francisco Lindors and stuff, but it's the little moves like the Jameson Tyones and the Justin Wilsons that add to a roster and make them more deep. If you look at Justin Wilson's numbers, they're really, really good. His exit velocity expected, or exit velocity against, this is actual, was in the 96th percentile. That's outrageously good. And his hard hit percentage is in the 92nd percentile. Again, outrageously good. He's very, very effective. And this is with a fastball velocity that's only average, 54th percentile, and spin that's in the 58th percentile. So again, his stuff isn't overwhelming, but his results are. And I can't explain it other than, his fastball spin is slightly above average. He might have a little bit of deception. If you look at his delivery here, it looks like his torque is in such a way that he's really hiding the ball from the hitter. I don't know how well you guys can see that. I would watch some. You know what? I can pull up the film room. Let's pull up the film room. Justin Wilson. So I was looking at past balls before when I was researching Gary Sanchez. So let's pull up players. Pitcher name, Justin Wilson. So we'll take a look at his delivery. It's been a long time since I've really watched Justin. We're just going to watch this 7-second clip of a foul ball because I don't want to get any copyright claims here. I'll turn this down. Yeah, so he's very closed. He brings the arm down. Watch how he brings the arm down. Bam, right there. The arm is behind his left hip. Right now, the hitter is kind of looking to see where that ball is, and he can't pick it up yet, and Justin Wilson is almost fully strided towards home plate. Now, right here, the hitter's now just finally picking up the ball, and because he throws, it's, I don't know what type of pitch that is. Let's take a look. 95, up in the zone. Suzuki just can't get around on it. Let's take a look one more time. Let's watch this in real time. So, completely closed. Right now, Suzuki is looking at number 38. He's looking at the back of Justin Wilson's jersey. Wilson, right here, the ball is still behind his head. He's short enough that it's at a low angle. Boom. So that's that. Justin Wilson, I think, is a great pickup for the Yankees. I'm hoping that you guys could see that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about tomorrow's player preview. So if you've been watching somebody says, how much did they pay Wilson? That's important. I don't know. I didn't see the tweet. All I saw was that it was officially a major league deal. So my guess is it's probably going to be a couple $1,000,000. So again, very effective move. All right, so let's talk about tomorrow's player preview. If you've been watching my channel over the last couple weeks, you notice that I've done a ton of player previews. I did Judge and Stanton. I started off with Clint Frazier and Gleyber Torres, just testing out my new camera, and I got kind of addicted. And this isn't my new camera, by the way. I'm streaming with a webcam, but when I do my one-off videos, I film with a Canon. So anyway, I've been doing these previews, and I want to do as many guys that I think they're going to have an impact on the season as possible. And so tomorrow I'm going to do Jordan Montgomery, because Jordan Montgomery, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated. I almost said overrated. He is one of the most underrated New York Yankees. Let's take a look at Jordan Montgomery real quick. I'm going to pull him up on Baseball Savant because I don't think his statistics are really as relevant as his analytics, because he had a lot of instances where he left guys on base and then they scored, but really it was not his fault. So let's take a look here. Okay, I'm going to show you a live stream. Okay, so let's take a look at Jordan Montgomery. His exit velocity against is in the 95th percentile. That is not what you expect for a guy who had a 5.11 ERA. That tells me he had guys on base that scored that were not his fault. His walk rate is in the 92nd percentile. You saw what guys like Davy Garcia could do with just command. Guys who just have command can be good on their own. But the fact that he has command and a really low exit velocity and in the 88th percentile of hard hit percentage against, that tells me he's gonna get a lot better. His fastball velocity was below average, but from the left side with his very over-top delivery, we'll take a look at his delivery in just a second. It makes it difficult for hitters to pick up the ball against him. That's why you see him get a lot of strikeouts on the curveball, but his curveball spin is only in the 21st percentile, right? Because he's coming at such a strange angle. He's coming way up high. He's 6'6", and he releases the ball way up here. And that's why you see him spike it in the dirt. And Pistol Pete with a great comment here. I'm throwing myself off because I'm seeing two mouse trails. Pistol Pete, oops. His fielder independent pitching was 3.87 last year. And so I think Jordan Montgomery is a guy who underperformed statistically last year, but we haven't seen him over a full season since his rookie year of 2017, when, by the way, he was awesome. He was awesome as a rookie. So I think Jordan Montgomery is a guy who we should watch out for. And let's take a look at what makes Jordan Montgomery so effective. I'm going to pull up Jordan Montgomery in the film room here. So bear with me just a second. Okay, so let's find a short clip of Jordan Montgomery. I want to find something that's, less than 10 seconds long. So that way, here we go. Jordan Montgomery, K's, Ender, Enciarte.
There's the 0-2.
God, I love Sterling. All right, so let's watch this one more time. We'll watch this a few times. He's also very closed, just like Justin Wilson. Watch this. Closed. Let's back it up. Let's go in slow motion. He starts closed. The hitter cannot see the ball. They might pick it up behind his hip, but as a hitter, you're trained to stare at the pitcher's cap and wait for the ball to pick it up next to his ear. That's what you're trained to do. But Jordan Montgomery releases way up high. I'm trying to slow it down to the point. And this is a breaking ball in the dirt. That's what I was talking about. See how high he releases the ball? It's not next to his ear at all. It's way out front and way up high. And that's why he spikes it in. And with those long arms, it's really tough to pick it up. He hides the ball really well. He starts closed. I don't know if there's a way to loop this. There's not, but anyway, I'm a big Jordan Montgomery fan. You guys will come to recognize that throughout this season. I love watching that guy pitch. All right, so let's talk more about what we got going on. I wanted to give you guys a preview of the watch party template. So I'm going to be doing watch parties. Watch parties are the toughest thing for me to do. And I'll tell you why. Because sitting for 3 hours in this chair and staring at the game on a little screen, when I have a 65-inch TV right there and a couch right on the other side of this desk, it's a tough trade-off to make. Even if I get a few bucks and a few subscribers, to me it's hard on the experience to stare at this little screen, But and Nick Stark says, when are you going to start doing more pitchers breakdown videos? Once we start getting highlights, I'll do more of those. So I'm going to give you guys a quick preview of what the watch party is going to look like. I've been working on it a little bit. So I put up this little note here because I'm not going to respond to comments as often during the watch parties because I'll be about 30 to 45 seconds behind you guys. And so I don't want to have spoilers. So when I do a watch party, what I'll do is I'll put on the game, and during a break in the action, when there's not a active pitcher batter duel going on, like, somebody's on base, maybe there's a meeting on the mound, maybe there's a commercial break, that type of thing, then I'll interact with the chat and I'll answer questions and I'll talk. I'm planning lots of contests. Once we get to 10,000 subscribers, which we're coming up on, we're at like 8,500 and something, maybe 8,600, closing in on it. Once we get to 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to start doing more giveaways. I've got a lot of fresh swag because once I get that Teespring store up, you'll be able to go out and see what's popular and things like that. So I'm going to start doing more giveaways. And this is just kind of going to be what it is. I've got a highlight reel that I will update during the season. This is all, classic Yankees clips and clips from 2020. As the season goes along, what I have to do is make a 20-minute background loop with all these clips that I've put together. And as the season goes along, I'll pull fresh clips in from the season and mix them in. And this clip will ultimately get longer to the point where it's 3 hours long. And then you don't see any repeats throughout the entire video. That's the goal, so that you can watch a 3-hour video. Look, I got a Rabu on there. I wish I had seen that game. I missed that game. It was the only great game you ever pitched for the Yankees, basically. But when you watch this watch party, I want you to be able to watch basically, something new for 3 hours while the game is going on. If you're just watching the score of the game or something like that, because a lot of people can't actually watch every game. So I wanted to give you something to watch. So that's kind of my goal here. Chris N says, I'm late, but what are we doing with Jay Bruce? Well, you're just going to have to go back and start from the beginning. Sorry. Hey, super chat. Thanks. I don't always see the super chats. Let's see. He says, we're almost all righty. We would be in a position where teams are leaving lefty relievers off of their rosters. Wilson is a good get, however. That's an excellent point, and thank you for the super chat. I don't always see it when people super chat, but I try to post it if I do see it. But sometimes I get caught up looking at the screen and what I'm talking about. I got to fix that little green screen there. So anyway, I always miss it. Reptilian Shapeshifting Master Race. You're my favorite YouTube name. Says you need to add Igawa highlights there. And I would if Igawa really had any highlights. I think he pitched, 5 games with the Yankees? Funny story. I went to the Durham Bulls Park one year, and Igawa was coaching first base during the, while the Rail Riders were hitting. Also, final thing before I do a little AMA chat, I wanted to give a shout out to John Boy, $1 Million Man. I just read an article in like the Business Journal or something that there was $1 million invested from a number of athletes into John Boy Media. John Boy apparently, I guess, got really famous when he did that Savages in the Bronx video from a few years back. I wasn't sure where it came from, but he's obviously an inspiration to all of us content creators. He's kind of the kingpin, the godfather of this YouTube thing for baseball. So that's so good for him. It's good for me too, because that shows that, real people, real money finds, YouTube content creation as a worthy thing to invest in. And I'll put my content up against most baseball YouTubers. So the fact that this does have a future is encouraging to me. So shout out to John Boy for living his dream, and so impressed, so impressed. Excuse me. Man, I just had a pizza taco. It was delicious. All right, so let's see. Yeah, this guy, Yankees channel says, or Parker Frank says, the only Yankees channels I watch are Talking Yanks, Pat, and occasionally Derek. Patrick is great too. Patrick Hennessy, Unhinged Yankees. I watch him all the freaking time. I have him on all the time. He's one of the most knowledgeable fans I know, and I think he's only about 21 years old or something like that. I got to ask him how old he is. But you can tell when you talk to certain people just the way that they talk about the game, that they really know what they're talking about. And somebody asked Jay Moore one time. He's a famous comedian. He was in Jerry Maguire. They asked him, why are fans in New York, why do they have this reputation as being knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than fans of other parks? And Jay Moore said, at other parks, you don't get 10,000 people that stand up all at the same time and yell, "That was a balk." There's something to knowing baseball and really knowing the insides and outsides of baseball. And that's why I really am a fan of, of Patrick's. And I hope he comes back on the show more often. Okay, so let's see. Did you cover Paxton back to the Mariners? No, but I'll do it right now. James Paxton obviously came from the Mariners. I think that's one of the rare trades that Brian Cashman has lost because, what's his name? Justice Sheffield turned out to be a really good pitcher last year, and he's a young lefty. Let's take a look at Justice Sheffield. Justice, he spells his name wrong. Justice with a U. All right, let's take a look at Justice Sheffield. He's a hard name to say. Justice Sheffield. 4-3, 3.58 ERA, 10 starts, 55 innings, 48 strikeouts. Really solid year for Justice Sheffield. Just going to be 25 years old. And the Yankees really got nothing out of Paxton last year. He was bad start to finish. And he was injured. He was a guy that when he came to the Yankees, he had a lot of injury concerns. What I like about Justice Sheffield is that he's getting better every year. I mean, he's just improving across the board. If you look at his numbers, just across the board getting better. Strikeouts were a bit down last year, but it's small sample sizes, so I think those are going to go up. But he's getting better. Strikeouts to walks was going up. Still 2.4 to 1 is not great. You'd like more 4 or 5 to 1 like Garrett Cole, but hey, it is what it is. He's a young pitcher. He's a lefty. And I think that Brian Cashman got beat on that trade. Let's see. All right, keep the questions coming here. Trying to figure out 26 for the roster. Is it 12 pitchers and 14 position players? I think it's 13 and 13. I think that's what it was supposed to be last year. It's hard to say what the full 26 is going to be because in spring training, it always works out that one or two guys get injured. It's just how it is. It's just how it goes. So it wouldn't shock me if somebody has a nagging thing here or there. Hey, there's my dog, Cece. Say hi, Cece. You might think she's named after Cece Sabathia, but it's actually Cat Chaser because I had 3 cats, my wife and I, at the time we got her. Landy Volley says, the second time the Yankees traded a blue chip player for an injured pitcher. It actually happens all the time. It happened, I can think of a number of times in my lifetime that it happened. It happened when the Yankees traded for Randy Johnson. They traded Dioner Navarro, who became a pretty good catcher. Now, the Yankees already had a catcher, Posada, but Randy Johnson was not the same. They eventually traded for Javier Vasquez. He was not the same. There's a lot of instances of that. Franchise J says can only have 13 pitches. Thank you for straightening that out. All right, keep the questions coming here. I'm just going to do a little AMA here for the next 5 minutes or so before I call it a night. Let's see here. How close is luxury tax? It's pretty close. I think it's about $4 or $5 million at this point. It's really going to depend on what they paid for Justin Wilson. But also, the Yankees have been engaged with Brett Gardner recently. They'd have to get him to come back for like $2 or $3 million. And I think that that's kind of what they're forcing him to do. They're kind of forcing him into, a rock and a hard place where it's either retire or sign for what the Yankees are willing to pay you, which is going to be a couple $1 million. The Yankees want to leave a couple of $1 million of, you want to say cap space almost, because they might need to pick somebody up during the season if there's an injury. Yankees fan 27 says, why not Rosenthal? My guess is money, but nobody signed Rosenthal. Maybe people don't like the workouts he's had. We'll see. Andrew Wallace says, hey. I usually don't reply to just hey, but
hello.
How you doing? Bullpen does look pretty solid. I'm going to go ahead and agree with you, Futai. The Yankees look pretty solid as a team. I still think the Jays are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I know their pitching isn't as great, but their offense is really good. They're going to have a really dynamic offense, just like that 2000, maybe 15, 16 team had. The Rays are not going to be as good this year. They got rid of Snell. That's like 13 wins right there, but they always play the Yankees tough. Yankees 2021 says, Derek, I'm done eating. Thanks for the update. Cool story, bro. Let's see. THG says, any chance that the Yanks could still sign Shane Green or D-Rob? D-Rob, I think maybe. Apparently, the Yankees were very interested with what they saw. I read a couple articles about his performance. They said he was throwing mostly 90-91, which is not great for a relief pitcher, but he did have his trademark curve. But the thing about David Robertson is that he's got such a long stride. If you watch David Robertson, he doesn't need to throw 95 anymore because he releases the ball a lot closer to home plate than you would think. I'm not going to pull up any clips from him, but if you get a chance, go back and watch some videos of David Robertson. Let's see. The Dodgers are $60 million over the luxury tax. It's crazy. Hey, more power to them. I mean, we can't complain about that because the Yankees have done it themselves a few times. It would be hypocritical of us Yankees fans to be ticked about that. Bleacher Creature 85. I've heard this a lot. Any chance the Yankees are looking to trade Stanton? All right, so let's address the thing about Stanton. Nobody wants to trade for him right now, and even if they did, he's got a no-trade clause. But nobody wants to take that contract because he can't stay on the field. If he has a really good year and stays on the field as a DH, let's say Stanton plays in 144 games as a DH. And let's say he hits 272 with 45 home runs and 115 RBIs. And then the following year, Major League Baseball introduces the league-wide DH across the National League. Then you're going to have 15 teams that need a DH. And at least 3 or 4 of those teams are going to be contending teams who may or may not have prospects they're willing to part with. But the Yankees might not need to get many prospects for it because they'd just be willing to unload that contract. Then you'd have to get Stanton to agree to go. But I could see Giancarlo Stanton going to DH in San Diego or in Los Angeles. I could see it happening. But again, that's just probably not going to happen. Let's see. Will the Yankees trade Andujar? Andujar's a guy, he's one of my personal favorite hitters on the team, but he just didn't look right coming back from the surgery last year until towards the end of the season. Still not great on defense. There's our boy Miggy. I should probably reverse it. There we go. Left hand when I point. Left hand when I point. There's Miggy. So I still feel like Andujar can swing the bat a little bit, but right now his value is at an all-time low, so they're not going to deal it at an all-time low. If he, puts it together and gets his value, up a little bit, then I think the Yankees might be able to deal him and get something back for him. Borg says, I don't want Stanton to leave, to be honest. I agree. I think Stanton's going to figure out a way to stay healthy, and I think he's going to be basically the Yankees version of Nelson Cruz, like somebody else said. Philip Phil says, let's get Gardy. Look, I'm all for signing Gardy, but he better not start over Clint Frazier anymore. I like Gardner, and I think he's a good role player, but he's a complimentary player at this point. What about Kyle Higashioka? Will he be the catcher? That's an interesting question because Gary Sanchez, I did a preview on his season today. Gary Sanchez had a really bad year, and he's probably got a very short leash as the starting catcher. But even so, He's going to go into the season as the primary catcher, but likely not start on opening day. I think you're going to see Kyle Higashioka get the start on opening day because Garrett Cole likes to throw to him. And when you're playing a division rival like the Jays, every game counts a ton. So Turn 2 says, why did we waste money on Sanchez? We didn't spend a ton of money. It's only $5 million. So I guess they're just hoping that he can have a good year. Benji Stokar says, Stoker or Stokar? I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. What about Florial? It's actually Al with an A, Florial. I really like Estevan Florial as a fourth outfielder, fifth outfielder potential. I think you're going to see him when Aaron Hicks has his traditional July vacation to go play golf with a pulled oblique muscle for a couple of weeks in Hawaii or whatever. Sorry if he's watching, but hey, that's what it looks like every year. So I think you're going to see Estevan Florial compete for the sort of fourth outfield spot with, right now at this point, Mike Tauchman. But if they sign Brett Gardner, that pushes everybody back down a notch, and you'll probably see Florial start in AAA. But I do like Florial as a player. He struck out a lot in the minor leagues. That's the one concern. But he's got tremendous speed. He's a good outfielder. I like his swing a lot. He hits the ball out front as a left-handed hitter. If you watch Florial's swing, he's a guy that has that classic left-handed swing where he's kind of at an uphill angle, kind of like Don Mattingly, right? Or Ricky Leday, another prospect who never busted out. Ricky Leday would be a good comparison to Estevan Florial, except Estevan Florial seems like he's a lot bigger and stronger than Leday ever was. Although Leday became a Twitter legend. But he's got that nice uphill swing, that nice classic uppercut. Ted Williams said the perfect swing should be slightly upward. I just realized this Yankees card is not in focus here. It's getting glare. This is a Mickey Mantle from 1958. My dad actually gave me this a couple years ago. And then I got one detailing his 565-foot home run from a long time ago. He hit it clear out of the stadium. So that's what you're looking at there. I do want to do a room tour at some point. I just haven't put the film together yet. I actually rearranged the room a little bit after I filmed it, so I got to refilm it. Let's see. Signing another lefty in the pen. Can Chapman be traded? I don't think Chapman's going anywhere. John Boy actually had a nice piece today where he talked about how effective Chapman really is. I just feel uncomfortable with Chapman. I get that he's good. I understand he's good. I just still feel uncomfortable with him, and I don't know why. You know, he gives up home runs in the playoffs in big spots, but again, he also gets a lot of big outs and faces the best hitters. So I just kind of go up and down with how I feel about Aroldis Chapman. The key to this season is the pitching, the starting rotation, especially Jamison Tyone and Kyle Kluber. Corey Kluber with a K. Yeah, I agree. Frazier is untouchable, no doubt. I agree. Clint to MVP form. I don't know about MVP form, but I think Clint Frazier's an all-star this year. I think he is. And I realize that, that's not going out on a huge limb, but I think Clint Frazier this year is going to hit 280 with 35 homers. I really do. I think he's going to drive in 115 runs because he's going to get a ton of opportunities, and he's not a guy who has to hit a home run every time. He'll take the ball to right field. He'll pick up a base hit. He'll get a sac fly. He's fine with that. You think there will be any more trades? I do not. I think this is it. Topps rookie Griffey Jr. That is an expensive card. Let's see. And a signed George Brett. My brother Mike used to own a card shop in New York. I used to love that place. 280, 30, 80. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to have more ribbies if he hits 30 home runs just because of how many guys higher. Well, maybe you're right. I've said this before that it's tough for guys to get a lot of RBIs on the Yankees because everybody can hit home runs. But the Yankees also have a ton of guys who can get on base. It really depends on where you're hitting Clint Frazier. If they're hitting him 8th or 9th, I could see him driving in 100 runs. If they're hitting him 5th or 6th, I think he's going to have more like 80 runs. Let's see. Chris Ann says, he answered my question. My life is complete. Your life is not complete. I'm just a 37-year-old, 20-pound overweight YouTuber from North Carolina. Let's see. Would Ford be your answer? Because I meant to add Void to the besides list. I don't know what this is. I didn't get it. Sorry, I missed the first part of that. Your passion for your craft is second to none. Keep it up, and Ryan Wide recaps. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to basically provide some entertainment during these cold, everybody's locked in months. This has been a crazy year. This has been a tough year on everybody. My wife is a teacher, and this has been the toughest year of her life. It's really tough these days for everybody. And I figure if I could bring a little bit more to the universe from my living room here and add some value, then I'm going to try and do it. Let's see. Is Russell Wilson going to be on the Yankees at spring training? I doubt it. I don't think they're going to play any games at spring training this year because the COVID thing. They're going to be extra careful. Ricky Leday saved David Cohn's perfect game. That's a true story. So there was a line drive to left field, and Ricky Leday was charging, and I still remember. I think it was Mercer and McCarver were in the broadcast booth, and McCarver I think called it, or maybe it was Mercer. I don't know, one of those guys. Ricky Leday is charging, and I got to get that on the reel. He's charging in, and the ball kind of handcuffed him because he lost it in the sun, and you could see the reflection in the glare of his glasses. He was looking right up the sun, and you see it just shimmering off, and he turns away, and he puts his heel down like at his waist to try and basket catch. I mean, it could have easily hit his heel and bounced off and been the end of the no-hitter and the perfect game. That would have probably been a hit because it was such a tough play in the sun. They might have called it an error. It's tough to lose a perfect game on an error, And so it's also tough to lose a no-hitter on a questionable call. So I'm just glad he caught it because that would have been a crazy, crazy moment. Tyler Bay says, I love you, Derek. I love you too, Tyler Bay. Why does Gary and Tyler Ward suck? I don't know who Tyler Ward is. Tyler Wade, he doesn't suck. He's just not. Circuit City says John Boy Media is better. Not familiar with John Boy. Probably John Boy, but hey, they are better. They got 100,000 subscribers. But I'm not competing with anybody. I'm just trying to do my thing. I'm going to do me, and we'll see how it goes. But hey, I want everyone to be successful. How much did Justin Wilson get? They didn't announce that yet. 4 million. Is that Borg says 4 million? Is that the price for what's his name? Justin Wilson. Franchise says I think Voit will be top 5 MVP. I hope so. I think he's going to be top 3 in home runs. I think he's going to hit 45 home runs. Last year he was on pace for 59. Who do you think will have a bigger season, Judge or Stanton? I think Judge, just because Judge plays defense. I think they're both going to manage to stay mostly healthy this year because of the yoga. Yoga really does stretch you out, and if you're doing it consistently, then you can really, you can stay flexible. Hello from Alaska. Thanks for the great content. You're welcome. Hello. I've always wanted to visit Alaska. It's kind of on me and my wife's bucket list to go out there and do we were going to do an Alaskan cruise, but now cruises don't sound so appealing. But I like to camp. I like to go out, just me and a skillet and a steak and a fire, and just have a steak and enjoy the nature and get away from technology and phones and stuff like that. So I would love to go to whatchamacallit. Yo, Derek, can you appear on Unhinged in roughly 50 minutes? Yeah, I'll come on. Why not? Send me a link. When do you project Jason Dominguez being called up? I think Dominguez is going to be up in 2023. I think he'll be up probably September of 2023. That would be my projection. Martian and Luis Medina up late 2022. Sorry, 2022. That's what I meant. Late, not this season, but next season. I forgot what year it was. I think Dominguez will be up in September of 2022. I think Medina could actually be up this year. From everything I've seen of Medina, if he's corrected his command, guys can move quickly once they figure out a way to throw strikes. If they have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and a devastating breaking ball, as Medina does, you might see him out of the bullpen this year. We'll see how he does in spring training and throughout the minor league season. But if he's dominating, the Yankees will call him up. We've seen that before. Phil Hughes, Jabba Chamberlain. Guys can move really quick. Who would you rather have on your team, Devers or Torres? Torres. Yes, I will come on Pat's show in 50 minutes. I will be on. Let's see. How many homers is Urshela and Glaber going to hit this year? I think Urshela might have more home runs than people expect. He had really good numbers last year. I think I could see Urshela having 25 home runs. I really can. And Glaber, I think, is going to be somewhere in the 35 to 38 range like he was a couple years ago. Derek has a strange dream vacation as Ron Swanson. I don't know who Ron Swanson is. Who's Ron Swanson? David says, you're almost at 2 million lifetime views. I'm getting there. Getting there. Favorite Yankees moment growing up? Oh, man, there's a number of them. Dwight Gooden's no-hitter sticks out. That was the first no-hitter I ever saw. Actually, no, Jim Abbott's no-hitter was the first no-hitter I ever saw. But I only watched the last inning of Jim Abbott's no-hitter. It was on a Saturday, I think. Maybe a Sunday. And I came in from playing ball in the backyard, and it was on. Dwight Gooden's I watched from the first pitch. I remember eating 3 bowls of, like, rainbow sherbet. Or is it sherbet or sherbet? It's spelled sherbet, but I've always said sherbet for some reason. I remember sitting there eating ice cream, watching that one. Boone hitting the walk-off. That's a huge one. That was a huge one. Don Mattingly's home run in the 95 playoffs. I was actually at game 1 of the 1995 division series, and I remember leaving the stadium. I had my head down. I was reading the program or something like that, and I walked into some old guy, and my brother and my dad were speechless afterwards, and the guy said, like, excuse me or whatever, and I said, oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. Found out later it was fucking Joe DiMaggio. I bumped into Joe DiMaggio. Yankees says, please answer my question. I didn't see your question. Say it, send it again. What are we going to do with Albert Abreu? I think he signed somewhere else, didn't he? Maybe not. He's going to have a shot in spring training. He's a guy who you could see get traded if he's out of options. I wasn't aware of that. Josh Smith, he's a DJ LeMahieu type player, THG. My brother actually said something about Josh Smith. I've read his numbers. He's like a 320, 330 hitter in the minors. I like him, but I haven't seen him play. I haven't seen any footage of him yet. I gotta check that out. How will Kluber and Tyone be this year? I like Tyone's chances of staying healthy more than I do Kluber's because I trust returning from elbow injuries more than I trust coming back from shoulder injuries, just because I've had a shoulder injury. And I know it's tough to rehab. Damn, Derek, you are old. I am. I'm 37. Roger Clemens roiding out and throwing the bat at Piazza. That's part of my reel here because that was one of my favorite. Ron Swanson is a Parks and Rec character who loves steak and loves just taking in the nature, loves not talking to people even more. Hey, look, I talk a lot as a hobby, but I'm not very talkative most of the day because I work from home and I do mostly stuff that doesn't involve me interacting with people. So, I have my own company a lot of the time when my wife is at work. I talk to my dogs a lot, my cats. Manny Ramirez was actually playing third base in Jim Abbott's no-hitter. What? Is that true? Wow. I need applause. That's a nice fact. Will Stanton be a left fielder in 2022 if he stays healthy in 2021? I don't think so. I think franchise is right. Clint is the first baseman of the future. I can see Kluber pitching like a late career CC, soft contact type. Yeah, maybe. He does seem like a guy who can move the ball and spin it a lot. Did Kluber change anything in his form to avoid another injury? I don't know. I haven't seen any workouts. But once we start getting Yankees workouts, you can bet your ass that's going to be a video that I do. Benji says, what do you do? I'm in marketing. I do videos. Let's see. How many innings will Luis Severino pitch this year? I'd say somewhere between 30 and 50. I think he's going to come back in late August, and I think they're going to ease him in 2-3 innings at a time. Last couple starts of the year, maybe 5 or 6 innings, and then hope you can get 5 or so per playoff start out of him and then turn it over to the bullpen. All right, guys, I'm going to go live on Unhinged New York, apparently, or Unhinged Yankees in about 45 minutes. So I'm going to call it a night. Thanks to everybody who's joined. We had 98 likes. We have 185 people on right now. I appreciate it. Rico Brill says Garrett Cole wins prediction. Final prediction for the night. I'm gonna say 19. I'm gonna say 19. Appreciate it, everybody. I will see you. Oh, we got a super chat. Hang on, I got a super chat from Lori C. $10. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Next preview is going to be Jordan Montgomery, either tomorrow or the next day. Spring training starting up this week. See everybody on the flip side.